It's the greatest podcast in the history of the world.
It goes high up and under the full forward. Becky's taken a ripper!
He has a bounce, he crosses 50, he pins the ears back, and he drills the goal!
All the latest news and views from around the VAFA.
Here's the big man!
The big guy.
He's done it again! This bloke extracts some of the finest!
All thanks to Midway, proud partner of the VAFA.
Makes a name for himself with these long bombs from outside the arc. It's a long bomb from outside the arc!
This is for the love of the game.
You can tweet that and hashtag it bloody good.
This is For the Love of the Game. Welcome, everyone, to another weekly edition of the VAFA podcast. Thanks to Midway, 16,500 people across Victoria. They help each and every week. Great to be alongside Cal Cummins and Matthew Donald, two young rising stars of our VAFA Media competition. Gentlemen, welcome.
Jace, thank you. For a long-time listener, first-time panellist. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, no, Jace, mate, it's a pleasure to be on, and I'm looking forward to it today.
We're going to jump straight into Premier Men's. It left back to life with an afternoon of great contest across Melbourne. St Bernard's and University Blues. Well, the first time they played in round one, it was decided after the siren with a goal to Joey Agresta. We thought, gee, possibly, and you're out there as you headed to the stake pit, Matty, it couldn't possibly be any tighter than that. But it turned out to be an incredible draw.
Oh, yeah, no, I think in terms of the drama that was behind it, it was one of the games of the year. It just ebbed and flowed throughout, and that last quarter was as hectic as I've seen all season. Terrific game.
Well, it was the sort of game that give coaches grey hairs, and one man who joins us now, I hope he's recovered and the heart rate's got back to normal, is St Bernard's coach STEVE ALESSIO. G'day, Sess.
G'day, guys. Haven't quite recovered from the game on the weekend, but certainly was a close one.
It was a crazy final term. I know watching the game, Uni Blues had like 4 shots at goal to try, and any of those scores would have done. And then Caven went down the other end for you guys, and he couldn't score either. From a coaching perspective, what was going through your mind in that last quarter?
You're just hoping for a score. I think we had a couple of late stoppages not far out from goal as well. Yeah, someone throw the ball on the boot and just try to get over the line to get that 1 point edge. It wasn't to be, but the conditions were pretty tricky on the day. There was a fair early breeze coming through, and I know it wasn't only the Blues at that end who missed a couple of as well. Probably missed shots they should have got at that school end.
Steve, Matthew Donald here, and you mentioned the breeze was a huge factor. I think of the 14 goals kicked, 11 of them were kicked to one end of the ground. Going with the breeze in the final term, you were chasing down a 7-point deficit. Draws I find are always fascinating in terms of how they're viewed from one side or the other. Does it feel like 2 points gained or 2 points lost for you?
I think the way I framed it with the boys after the game is look at it across both games. Luckily enough, we were able to win the first one and get 2 out of the second one. So if you look at our Uni Blues over the year so far, that's 6 out of 8 points. You probably take that as a coach with any team. So it's always, I've been involved in a couple myself during my football days. It's always a different feeling, but look, 6 out of 8 points from playing Uni Blues during the year is a positive for us.
It's quite a peculiar season that you guys have had. This week's draw was the first premiership points that you've been able to get at home, yet you've won 4 of 5 games on the road. Is there really any explanation for that?
I wish I knew. It would certainly help. I'm not too sure. Look, the quality of opposition at home so far, it's basically been the top three team, or top 2 teams. Old Scotch who are on a bit of a run at that stage when we encounter them at home. So, look, we're certainly aware of that, and we're certainly aware of supporters who come down to watch as well. Most of the home games that you want to try to provide the best performance and the best action for them to watch. So, hopefully we can notch one proper win up, a 4-point win this weekend.
Steve, talk us through the season so far and how it's maybe met your expectations. You're at the halfway mark now. You're positioned in a spot where you're just 2 points, half a game off 4th spot. Where's the team sitting right now versus your expectations, and where do you think you are on your curve in terms of how good you can be?
We're growing as a team, definitely. We're able to introduce new concepts to the group, and they're certainly grabbing them and taking hold of them a lot easier and running with them. So from that point of view, I think their knowledge and their ability play different systems at different times is growing, which hasn't been the case in the past. I think maturity as well, starting to get to an average age of around 25-ish, while still introducing some 18-year-olds into the group. 18, 19-year-olds. Marcus Eade debuted weekend, who's a 21-year-old who's been at the club for a long time. So I think we've struck that good balance of a couple of mature players, a really good core group of mid-20s, and still introduce some young talent in there as well. So we've still got a bit of development to go, and that's obviously the learning curve that we're on at the moment.
Certainly, if you ask the man whose seat I feel today, that being Joey Pignataro, some Burners certainly have a fantastic team-first sort of culture. How do you, as the coach, cultivate that strong team culture, and what role does the leadership group play in that process?
Yeah, look, it means different things to different people. It's sort of the values that you talk about, live by, and we sort of have those that we know the way we want to look and the way we want to play and the way we want to behave, both on the ground and off the field and around the club. So you try to at any stage highlight those behaviours that potentially don't match up to that. So we've been focusing pretty heavily on that, and I think it's helped us. And it just gives a bit of a pointer for a lot of especially the young guys coming in, as to this is acceptable and this is not. So at the moment, we seem to be ticking over pretty well in that area. At times, like anything, it can be hard to manage, but I think it's helping us move forward as a group and as a club, really.
Steve, you're going to get a great handle on where you're at over the next few weeks. As I mentioned, you're half a game outside the top four, and you play three of the next four teams above you in Uni Blacks, who are running hot at the moment, and St Kevin's and Old Xavs. It's a big 3 weeks and a great opportunity.
Yeah, we'll certainly find out where we're at leading into the double bye. So, we're excited by it. Uni Blacks are a really tough team to play against, a really good defensive team. So our guys are going to have to be up for the battle on the weekend against Uni Blacks. And what a fantastic win last weekend against Old Brighton. Then St Kevin's, I think it's going to be a bit of a unique one where we play them at the school. So for certainly a first for me, and I think for many of the guys in the team. And then Xavs, we've got to make sure that we put in a bit of a better performance than what we had against them at home previously.
Steve, you've got a couple of Tom Sullivans on your books, but I wanted to talk about the diminutive number 8 who you've had for a few games this year. He got the ball rolling for you in the second term with a couple of good goals and looked really dangerous around the stoppages. How much of a pleasure is it to have him in the squad? He's made a real difference since he's come in.
Yeah, look, super player. Tom's 32 and just keeps himself in ripping nick, and is a great reader of the ball. He's a great competitor. Really doesn't lose too many one-on-one contests, and it can be a real spark for us at times. So we just managing him as best we can throughout the year, and hopefully getting him for more games than we did last year. And he's, like I said, he's certainly a live wire and provides a real good spark for us in that forward line.
Just for the sake of our VAFA Media commentators, Sess, what are the nicknames of the two boys? How do you differentiate? Is there a senior and a junior, or how do you tell the difference rather than just yelling out, "Hey, Tom Sullivan," and they both turn around?
Big Tom Sull and small Tom Sull. So the big Tom Sull is Sully. And
Sully?
then we got Tommy Sull. He's the small one. So I think it's not that clear anyway. But we get the message.
that is true. It's not really that much clearer. But as long as you guys all understand what you're talking about.
I think if little Tom Sull gets the message to go and play full back, he knows it's gone to the wrong guy. So
It's Steve. A lot of our attention was quite rightly focused on the on-field on Saturday and what was a really good game. But it was a huge day for the club as well in terms of the off-field, in terms of celebrating a history. A couple of premiership reunions, the 1975 premiership side, the 2015 premiership side had gathered at the Snake Pit and were watching the game. I couldn't help but notice that they'd been called down to the huddle at three-quarter time as well as you addressed the players. Was the history of the club something that you'd really lent into with the playing group during the week and the build-up to the match?
Yeah, we had a few of our older guys from 75 talk to the boys at the Thursday night dinner, and also some representatives from our 2015 side. And I think it's really good for especially the younger guys who at times, I know when I was growing up, I really didn't pay much attention to, the history of the club that I was at. Yeah, and I think as you get older, you tend to pay more attention to it, and to have real stories from those guys, and one about their playing days, but also what it's meant to them post their playing days. 30 years on, 40 years on type thing is, I think, a really special thing for them to communicate. And there was a bit of emotion in some of the guys as well. And so the football clubs are special places and can provide some great memories. So I think as a coach, I tend to try lean into that as much as possible. One, to try get the best out of our players, our young players. But two, also, so when they do leave the club, that they've got some real special memories as well.
Steve, thanks so much for your time, mate. We're looking forward to this game this weekend. St Bernard's versus Uni Blacks. Matty Donald heading back out to the Snake Pit. It'll be our SEN match of the day. Best of luck and good luck for the road ahead.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for chat.
Well, speaking of the Uni Blacks, their resurgence continued. They became the first team to defeat Old Brighton this season. They ended on a 3-game winning streak of their own, including victories over top 3 finishes from last year, Old Scotch and St Kevin's, and then added the final piece of that puzzle by defeating the Tunners at Melbourne Uni Oval. They led by a goal at the first break, then trailed by a goal at the half. 4 goals in 8 minutes from the midway point of the third term saw the Blacks jump out to a game-high 17-point lead. Tunners responded with a couple, was back within a kick, and then goals really tough to come by in a tight final term. Sam Flockhart found one to put Old Brighton in front at the 19-minute mark. Then Tom Sinclair bobbed up. He kicked 2 goals in 75 seconds to kick the Blacks 9 points clear. Ben Pryor brought Old Brighton back within 3. It was a brilliant long-range set shot from the boundary at the 25-minute mark, but that proved to be the final score. The Blacks hanging on staunchly for the remaining 4 minutes. A memorable 4th straight win keeps them on top 4 pace. And remarkable, gentlemen, given Old Brighton's possession and territorial dominance. Old Brighton were plus 21 for inside 50s and plus 77 for disposals, yet the Blacks found a way to win.
It just goes to show that how important efficiency is in the modern game of footy. You can have all those entries, but if you do you're not very deliberate with your entries, as the Blacks were, evidently, it almost goes to waste. And you can have those chances, but yeah, if you do nothing with them, you leave yourself sort of ruining what could have been if you're Brighton.
Geez, they've been the team that's really kind of snuck under the radar a bit, haven't they? They lost 4 of their first 5, Blacks, and now they're on a 4-game winning streak.
Yeah, no, they have been very impressive since the opening month of the season. And another point, I think, as sort of what we say with the territorial dominance that Old Brighton had, how important defence is. And I think that's the one thing that when you're on the back foot, if your defence can hold you in good stead, still keeps you in with a chance of beating anyone. And I think that's what we saw with the Blacks at the weekend.
St Kevin's and Old Scotch played out a typically tight and tense clash at TH King. The hosts ultimately able to keep the cards at arm's length in a scintillating final term. It was really high-quality football. Scob booted the opening goal. The Cards then got on a fly. They kicked the next 4 and led by 20 points at the first break. But so often, as we see with Anthony Lynch's men, particularly at home, they didn't panic. They kicked the only 4 goals of the second term, got out to an 11-point lead of their own. Goals then dried up in the third term, an exchange of behinds before 3 goals in 4 minutes late in time on. 2 of those went to Scob. They went to the break with a handy 16-point lead. And then suddenly the game just opened up in the last quarter. Goals were flowing freely. It was a great advertisement for Premier Men's footy. But every time the Cards threatened to close, Scob found the response. And in the end, 5 goals to 4 from them in the last quarter. Not enough to close the gap. St Kevin's, an 11-point win. They retain 4th spot. And they've got a massive month. It was such a huge game for them. They've got a 4-game season-defining stretch matches against Old Xavs, St Bernard's and Old Brighton coming up before the double bye. Gee, there's some huge games in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, they are. From quarter time to three-quarter time, St Kevin's were excellent. So it's 6 goals to 1. But in that third term, it was 1-10. So they could have had a huge lead by the time they turned for home St Kevin's. A terrific game. Two very strong rivals. Those two don't like each other at all. But a really important win for St Kevin's because there's some teams that those top three have sort of built a bit of a buffer between themselves and the rest of it. So for St Kevin's to get a win against one of those sort of contenders in that top 4 spot, just to get ahead of them, but also keep in touch with the teams in front of them, it's a really important win.
And we mentioned how important this win was for them because you look at the ladder, you look at them, they're 4th on 20 points. Had they have lost that, they dropped back to 16. Scotch jumped them. St Kevin's would have been 7th.
Yeah.
Had they lost that game. So that
Which is where Old Scotch find themselves now.
A genuine 8-point game this turned out to be as it was going in, and it is just so imperative when you get these close games to play your best footy in this middle part of the year. And you mentioned how important the games coming up for St Kevin's are. It's going to really define their season. For
the second time this season, Old Hailery put the foot down late to power away from Collegians at Harry Trott Oval. The Lions made good use of the breeze. They dominated the early going. They kicked 4-3 to 1 behind in the opening term, and despite being held goalless into the wind in the second term, they still led by 2 goals at the half. The Bloods narrowed that gap to 4 points at the last change. It was a low-scoring slog, but then they shifted gears. They put the Lions to the sword as they did in round 1. In round 1, they kicked 10 goals to 2 in the final term. This time around, it was 6 unanswered goals. Turned a 4-point deficit into a handy 34-point win. Sees them close within a game of top spot. And another example of one of those games that could go either way during the season, and you just find a way to win.
It is just a perfectly executed sort of momentum push in that last quarter from Old Hailery, and you look directly at the score sheet. It was 10 goals to 1 after quarter time. Like that is a really, really well executed game plan from Dan Ward's men, and full credit to Hailery. They are really proving themselves as a genuine contender this season.
They've won 6 in a row.
Yeah, no, they're one of those teams that we tend to focus on Old Brighton and Old Xavs, given how well they've started the season. A lot of people forgetting about Old Hailery, but they're as good a chance as anyone this season.
And we talk about the round robin again. You look at their next 4 weeks. They've got Old Brighton this week. What a game.
That's a blockbuster.
At Princes Park. Then they've got Old Scotch at the college, at Scotch College. Then they've got University Blacks at Melbourne Uni. Then they've got Old Xavs back at Princes Park.
Like good games across the park.
Incredible right now.
No, we've got a really enticing month of football coming up across the board. There are that many litmus tests. It's hard to keep track of them all.
So plenty of eyeballs at Waverley Oval on the weekend as Old Xavs took on De La Salle, and they debuted a youngster. A young fella managed to get his jumper and pull it on. He seemed to do okay as well. Had a lazy 27 touches, 21 contested, 13 clearances in 60% game time. His name is Josh Kennedy. He joins us now, and for the love of the game, g'day, Josh.
G'day, lads. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, mate. We really appreciate it. What was talk us through the process of how you ended up back at Old Xavs? Obviously, you're a Xavs boy to begin with. You went to school there. How did this all come about?
Look, it's probably been a slow grind to get to that point, guys. It's as you said, I've had a long affiliation with the school, obviously having gone there for many years ago, and then through the Old Xavs with a lot of my best mates that played, family, cousins, brother, all played there, and still a strong network of friends at the footy club. So had been involved sort of in the background every now and then, and gone and watched the games and seen the development of the new facility there at Toorak Park. So, and then this year, I guess I just for a bit of fitness, wanted to go down and join in a few training sessions, and did that, and then ended up feeling good enough to go, maybe I'll just have a run around one game, see how we go. It's always just been a week by week, day by day prospect, but got to the point where I felt, I wouldn't say confident, but felt good enough to be able to have a run, and that was it on Saturday.
How was the experience for you? When was the last time you pulled on a boot?
The last time I put on a boot, I don't know what you'd count. I played a quarter over in Canada for the US and Canada reserve sides, and then prior back in 2023 for Murrabit, and then prior to that would have been when would it have been? My last game, which has been about round 10 of the AFL season 2022.
Yeah, right. So how the big question is, after you've dominated on the weekend, how'd the body pull up?
No, the body's surprisingly pulled up okay. I think my Wednesday night basketball team has held me in good stead with the agility and movement. It's been a while since I've been tackled myself, but pulled up surprisingly okay. But I dominated is certainly a stretch. I think I was just okay, serviceable, but and I think there might be some mayo on those stats too. I don't know who was taking them, but I think they've flattered me, to be honest.
Josh Cal Cummins here. You mentioned that this going into it might have been just a one-off sort of thing. Can we expect to see you later on in the year, next week? You coming back?
Yeah, look, I'll continue to sort of go down to training and be involved. And there's so much that goes. It's not an easy game, that's for sure, and it's a bloody good standard. I certainly felt like I'd played a game of footy afterwards. That's for sure. And it's not something that I just think I can rock up and play and perform. So if I'm going to play, I'll need to make sure that I'm right and that I'm actually going to be picked as well. So, look, I'll keep going down and see where it takes me. So I think so. I think so is the answer.
Josh, Matthew Donald here. Congratulations on your performance on the weekend. You mentioned that it'd been a while since you've last sort of played any real competitive football. Just curious, Saturday morning, what the nerves were like. How were you feeling sort of leading into the match from a mental standpoint?
Yeah, I was pretty nervous. I was very nervous, actually. But I was actually coaching the under-10s soccer team, East Melbourne soccer team, which my son plays in. So that took up a lot of the morning. Didn't have too much time to think about it, which was nice. So went straight from there home, changed and went to the ground. But fair to say in the lead-up, I was a little bit anxious. As I said, I've done a little bit of training, but nothing really compares to a game. And then probably, getting tackled and hit and seeing how my body would cope with the added intensity, I was a little bit nervous, but happy to get through.
Was it fun, Josh? Like, did you run around and have a bit of a smile on your face going, you know what, I've forgotten how fun playing footy can be?
Yeah, it was fun. I think after the first quarter and a bit, I thought I was going to have a heart attack in the first quarter, but sort of settled into the game. It was fun. It was as I said, it was tough. Like I think the scores probably didn't truly reflect how hard the game was. I think we ended up winning by about 10 goals in the end, but right the way through it was only sort of 2, 3, 4 goals in it right the way through. So D-Lar was super competitive. They played really, really well, really disciplined, tough game. Just focused on trying to get through and play my part for the most part. But yeah, certainly in the last quarter, when the game opened up a bit, it was very enjoyable to be back out there.
Yeah, it was clearly the best D-Lar have played all year, and Nick Hyland, their coach, concurred with that. From an Old Xavs perspective, obviously you've been around the team all year. You've seen them. You've seen the opposition. You guys seem to be pretty well placed. You've got some really good balance and strength right across all lines.
Yeah, look, I got to be honest. I haven't seen much of the opposition at all. I haven't seen any of the opposition, to be honest. I've gone and watched a couple of games here and there, and out of from our team's perspective, just playing on the weekend, not knowing the standard of the competition, but I feel like the Xavs team's pretty well balanced. Guys are really earning spots, and not really any holes there. But full disclosure, I think I probably can't comment on the state of the rest of the teams and where we sit. I probably haven't seen enough or I've done enough training with the boys, but for the rest of the competition, it's going to be really interesting. What I understand, though, is it's incredibly even.
So, Josh, just for those who are big fans of the VAFA last year and followed Old Xavs closely, they may well remember that Dan Hanbury played a couple of times for the Xavs. Are you keen on getting on the phone to him and trying to get the Swans band back together?
Yeah, well, he was the one that was been on the phone to me the last probably 12 months, and given his experience last year, just kept sort of chipping away at how enjoyable it was, how much fun it was, and being able to contribute as well. So I'm sure I'll see him down at different stages. Whether or not he'll play, I'm not sure. It would be fantastic. I'd love to run out there with him again. But we'll see. But yeah, it was probably the other way around. Him getting me down, to be honest.
Well, you're about to get a bit of a crash course in just how good this competition is, because looking at Xavs next month, it's St Kevin's, Uni Blacks are red hot at the moment, St Bernard's are in the finals mix, Old Haileybury are in the finals mix, Old Scotch are, and then Old Brighton. So the next 5 or 6 weeks for Old Xavs are going to be season-defining and some really great games of footy.
Yeah, it seems that way. As I said, I think apart from probably Old Brighton that have only lost a game, everyone else is pretty even. So, and I'm not being a student of the amateur league, but it can change pretty dramatically week to week in terms of vying for finals and then fighting off relegation can all happen pretty quickly. So, as you said, yeah, the next few weeks are going to be pretty important to, we can really set ourselves up in this next few weeks or left sort of fighting out to the end. So it's going to be important, guys coming and going throughout the scene, but it's going to be exciting nonetheless.
Josh, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on your VAFA debut. We're absolutely delighted to have you involved in the competition. Any footy league is the better for quality people like yourself being involved. So great to have you with us, and thanks for joining us on For the Love of the Game. Best of luck for the road ahead.
Good on you guys. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
So that's it for Premier Men's. After 9 rounds, we are at the halfway mark, and the season is as even as we expected. Old Brighton sit on top at 8-1. Now only a 1-game gap to Old Xavs and Old Haileybury. They're at 7-2. 2 games back to St Kevin's in 4th spot at 5-4. Level on percentage with Blacks now, who sit in 5th spot, also 5-4. Half a game back to St Bernard's in 6th. Another half back to Old Scotch in 7th. So you can throw a blanket over those top 7 teams, really. Then Uni Blues on 10 points. Collegians half a game back, and De La Salle yet to win a game. So that draw, gentlemen, could end up being critical. Critical for St Bernard's chance of maybe just sneaking into the Final Four, and critical for Uni Blues because it kicks them half a game clear of Collegians in the race to avoid relegation.
It does, and it now really spices up, you're right, that relegation battle. But certainly at the moment, looks like between the Blues and Collegians, it's going to come back to, we're going to look at the end of the year, go, was it 2 points gained or 2 points lost? Either way you look at it. As well, the same could be said for St Bernard's if they get right in that finals hunt towards the end of the season.
And the cliche percentage of infinity now kicks in with the draw, because unless we get another one, it's going to be points outright is going to be the only way to separate these two teams. And it just keeps everyone bunched together again. No one's able to really break away in that sort of mid-table bunch.
Tips coming up for round 10. We've got some more fantastic games coming up this weekend. After the break, we will turn our attention to Premier B and be joined by our special guest, Donald McDONALD, the coach of Old Trinity after their big win over Ivanhoe. That is next on For the Love of the Game.
Are you looking to grow your business? William Buck are more than just accountants and advisors who can develop strategic growth plans for your business. With over 125 years' experience, William Buck has expertise in navigating through challenging times and has been working closely with the VAFA community, creating positive change for individuals, businesses and community organisations. William Buck's team of specialist advisors work collaboratively, providing you with 360 support. Schedule a complimentary consultation today by visiting williambuck.com.
Tickets are now on sale for the VAFA's 2025 Big V Gala Dinner presented by City Power. It's a landmark event, the largest function the VAFA has ever staged, and it's celebrating 100 years of Big V representative football. This historic evening will serve as the official opening to the Rep Football Weekend, offering a unique opportunity to honour the legacy of the Big V and its enduring significance within the VAFA community. The Big V Gala Dinner will bring together past players, coaches, club representatives and supporters to reflect on a century of tradition, achievement and pride. The evening promises to be one of the most significant in the VAFA's history. You don't want to miss it. It's at Centrepiece at Melbourne Park, Thursday the 10th of July 2025. Tickets now on sale at vafa.com.au.
Would you like to get more closely involved with footy and enjoy the unique camaraderie and bonds that exist in and around footy clubs? VAFA clubs are always looking for volunteers to assist with the weekly running of the club, both on and off the field. Log on to vafa.com.au and check out our club directory to find a club near you.
Welcome back to For the Love of the Game. Thanks to Mecklecare, looking after 16,500 Victorians each and every week. It is time to talk Premier B, and this Premier B ladder continues to tighten. Just 2 games now separating the top 6 teams. Old Trinity closing to within 3.14% of top spot after a comprehensive statement win over Old Ivanhoe at Shellsworth Park. The Hoers got away to a great start. They kicked at the opening couple of goals. They got out to a 16-point lead at quarter time. That got out to 22 points before the Tees really kicked into gear. They kicked 8 of the next 9 scores, but that was 2-6 in that period of dominance, and then found their range late, kicked a couple of goals, 1 straight kick to lead at the major break. And then Donald McDonald's men slammed on 5 unanswered goals to kick away from the ladder leaders in the third term. In the end, Old Trinity, 11 of the last 13 goals, ran out 37-point winners in a great performance that'll make the rest of the competition sit up and take notice as they draw level with 7-2 with the Hoers at the halfway mark. And joining us is their coach, Donald McDonald. D-Mac, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jay.
How's the knee? Firstly, let's start with that. You've had it replaced 4 weeks ago. How's it going?
It's a slow process, but, you know, when you get a bit older, mate, these things have to be addressed. Hasn't been ideal, but credit to everyone at the club, you know, staff and especially our staff have been awesome. So it's now my 3rd year with the group, and a pretty stable group, so everyone's aware of what the expectations are. The previous 2 weeks, fantastic, and obviously on the weekend, the boys really put in a big one, very good side.
So it's like you had a couple of games where you weren't coaching and the boys managed to have a win. You better be careful, mate. It's like TV. They say don't take holidays.
No, you're right. And I think that a real coachable group, and our assistant, good stability there. So guys like Jack James and Jack, our fitness guy, and Duthie and Tommy Beasley, these boys are, they're so committed to coming and everything. So it's a team effort at the tees, mate, off the field.
Talk us through the win on Saturday against Old Ivanhoe. Top of the table, obviously a big build-up to it, coming off the bye as well for you all. Talk us through the performance. What'd you make of it?
Yeah, look, pre-game paper, I thought Old Ivanhoe had a really strong side and got a few more boys back into the team. They had a huge win against Ham. They had to make changes, and I noticed some really good players were in the 2, so that always sends some. And they jumped this really start. It was a little bit of a breeze that they had, but they were really good early. As credit, they really got stuck into their role. Were able to drag the momentum. And as you know, like footy is a big lever. If you can keep your momentum up and keep you're a chance. And I think we're up. So, like a win. And I'm sure the guys, were super proud of their efforts. Gives a great deal of confidence going.
Beating Old Ivanhoe in Donald, it's no easy task. It's actually the first time that any side has gone and done it since round 16 of last year. What would you say were the leading factors in walking out of there with the 4 points?
Well, starters, you look at that, they've got, the ball winning brigade, Murphy, Clean, especially Rowan McKenzie, Naish came back into the team. Their wingers, hold their width well. Their ruckman, Murkoff, dominating. So you've got to actually, it all starts at the content. Try and make sure that you can give yourself money bet there. And I think that we really, really focused on. And there's no doubt that Old Ivanhoe will, in that game, and they're probably going to learn a lot about themselves. Bring that to the table next time. But we can only take it as it comes. And I thought that, and the fact that Hugh Beasley up for 6 goals was a real standout for us. His competitiveness was just unbelievable. He gave us a real target, and in the end, probably the difference.
So, Donald, Matthew here, congratulations on the win. Just thinking in terms of your own sort of personal issues that you've had recently, has it been difficult to really get back into the swing of coaching? How heavily have you relied on your support crew around you during the last few weeks?
Oh, no, difficult. I mean, the great thing about the VAFA, all our games are televised. And, as they televised, you can really go to work on the replay, watch your next opposition. So give me a few weeks just to sit at home and do some homework on everything. And, good. And we kind of like the coaching group, like I'm 63 these days. With my knees anyway, I wasn't really doing a lot of the coaches and the players basically run. So that was just business as usual. I think the way we've got it set up, I mean, everyone's aware of what the expectations are, like how super competitive. So there's always pressure from the senior team. So if you drop your guard for a week or two, you might lose your spot. So I don't think it was such a change for the group with me not being there game day, to be honest.
Another challenge this week, Willie CYMS coming off 3 wins. They're almost as hot as any team in the competition right now. What are you expecting?
Yeah, they are a good side, and it's full credit to them. They've been pretty consistent all year. We 2, so nice and early in the piece. We were coming off a loss. They were coming off a really. So we were pretty switched on that day. I'm sure this time around it's going to be a different ballgame. They get a few of their VFL boys back, but even if, they've got some young kids that have come in, their senior players have been awesome. So a real lot of talent, and I think, playing in our ground suit them. I think they've got a lot of skill. They can. So, Chelmsford Park will mind that. So it'll be interesting playing daily this weekend. It'll be a big game. But, the thing is, if you're at the pointy end, you're gonna have to play the best side of the year. So it's unbelievable for us to get the opportunity to get some really good sides now.
D-Mac, thanks so much for your time, mate. We appreciate it. Always a joy to talk to you. Best of luck for the road ahead.
No worries, boys.
Always great to catch up with Donald McDONALD, Old Trinity, travelling beautifully and challenging Old Ivanhoe at the top of the ladder. And, well, speaking of challenges, and for Trinity, their next challenge is going to be Williamstown CYMS, who won their 3rd on the trot. They stormed home to defeat Old Camberwell at Fearon Reserve. The Wellers actually made good use of the blustery conditions in the first term. They had the breeze at their back and kicked 5 goals to 1. They led by 28 points at the first change and then looked to set up a winning position because they held CYs to just 1 goal with the breeze in the second term. So still led by 27 points at the major break, did Old Camberwell. But the hosts then did a great job in the third term. They managed to close the game down, held Camberwell to just a goal themselves. They still led by 22 points at the last change, though, Camberwell, before Contezoglu's men came storming back. A goal of Vicino in the first minute or so provided some hope. Then they had to be patient. They had to wait until the middle part of the quarter, really, to start making a run at this deficit. They still trailed by 16 points. Will Bockma then kicked a goal. Ned Sayers added another 2 minutes later. Suddenly they were back within a couple of points. They kicked 4 consecutive behinds. They edged in front. Tension continued to build. Will Smythe at the 25-minute mark and Amir Fernandez at the 29-minute mark kicked goals for CYMS. Gave them a spirited comeback win. They're now beautifully placed at 6-3 in 3rd position at the halfway mark. And as we say, looking at Old Trinity next week. Cal, what did Coach Contezoglu make of that performance?
I'd say he was very pleased with the contested ball and the stoppage work of the CYs, particularly late in that 4th quarter where you mentioned they were down by 22 points at the final change and really rallied together. An important win for their season. And from their contested ball, it meant they could sort of feed the ball out towards their wingers and really move the ball forward with a bit of width, a bit easier.
And Neil Connell from Old Camberwell?
Yeah, he's becoming very aware that Old Camberwell's second halves are becoming a bit of an issue for them. We mentioned that how poor their final term was, just the one behind, and 5 goals, 7 to Williamstown was certainly not great showing. So he's becoming aware that second halves are an important issue to address going forward.
For the second time this season, Old Geelong had to fight hard to overcome a resilient Fitzroy. The Roy boys stretched the Ogs all the way into the final minutes of the game before the hosts ultimately prevailed at Como Park. It was a scoreless opening term. Neither team managed to find the score sheet. And then a 5-goal second term. The Ogs ground out a narrow 3-point lead courtesy of 3 goals to 2. More of the same in the third term. Neither team really able to crack the game open. It was a goal apiece in that third quarter. The Ogs had the breeze at their back in the final term, yet Fitzroy refused to yield. The game hung in the balance deep into the term. It was Old Geelong by 5 points entering time on. Then Mickey Nichols kicked a goal at the 22-minute mark, his third for the day. That released the shackles a little bit for the Ogs. They added another 3 goals in 6 minutes to finally break the Gallant Roys, who lost no admirers for their gritty 4-quarter performance. Tough day at the office for Old Geelong, Matty, but they got the job done. What did Nick Dixon have to say?
Yeah, I think I can't remember the last time I've seen a scoreless quarter in a game of football. And Nick Dixon acknowledged just that. He said that the conditions made it difficult for both teams to move the ball. He reserved a lot of credit for Fitzroy, though, and their defensive pressure, and acknowledged that they'll be a hard team to beat as the season progresses. But he set aside specific praise on his own front to Jack Sheridan, who played game 100.
Shezelenko.
Yes, you beauty. And Jack Nichols, the 19-year-old, he gave praise to both of those who stood up in the last quarter when the game was there to be won.
And Travis Ronaldson from Fitzroy, tough loss for them, but again, a really good, solid performance, just couldn't get over the line.
Oh, he loved the way that they played. He said he was so proud of the performance that the team put together. There was a game plan that they went in with, and they executed and committed to it really well. The intent and the pressure throughout the whole match was outstanding, he thought. The only issue that he had, and that will be something that they need to work on, it was just the way that they used the ball going inside 50. But as far as intent goes, he couldn't fault the players.
Caulfield Grammarians collected another critical 4 points. They overpowered a plucky Hampton Rovers at Boss James Reserve. The Rovers started brightly, had the wind at their backs. They peppered the goals early. They kicked 7 of the first 9 scores of the game, but unfortunately didn't fully capitalise, and a couple of late goals to Caulfield saw the visitors nudge in front at the first break. Paul Sadley's men then powered away with the breeze. They kicked the first 5 goals of the second term, got out to a 6-goal advantage. But then credit to the Rovers, they dug in, they responded, they kicked the final 2 goals of the first half, got it back to 26 points. The hosts then had to capitalise with the breeze in the third term, but they were unable to find a major until time on. 2 goals to 1 late. They headed to the final change by 23 points and then had to play into the breeze. But the Rovers defied the conditions. They kicked the first 2 goals of the quarter in quick succession, but the Grammarians then settled. They kicked the last 8 scores. Ultimately, a 34-point win to Caulfield Grammarians over Hampton. It was their 4th in their past 5 starts as they continue to turn their season around. Paul Sadley from Caulfield Grammarians must have been delighted.
Yeah, he sure was. It's just one of those games where he just had to go there and get the 4 points, given how tight Prem B is. When I look at the ladder, there's 2 teams on 28, 2 on 24, another 2 on 20, and another 2 on 16. It is so tight when you get the games where you just must win. Sats was very pleased that his boys could do so.
Marty Pass from Hampton, what did he have to say about his side?
Yeah, it's obviously been a pretty tough season for Hampton, but Marty is just very pleased to continue to see the growth from the young core and the positive signs that are sort of required to be playing senior footy when you've got the kids who are under 19s eligible, sort of really showing the positive signs there for Hampton, but it's not quite to be this season so far.
The final game of the weekend saw Old Melburnians prove once again that their best is good enough to trouble anyone. They comfortably rolled the third-placed Old Carey at Carey. OM seized the initiative in the outset. They kicked 4-6 to 3 behinds in the opening term, then followed that up with another 2 unanswered goals early in the second. So they led the goalless Panthers at that stage by 35 points at the major break. The game then opened up in the third term. Both teams kicked 5 apiece. It was a really entertaining third quarter. They went goal for goal. Panthers did all the early scoring in the final term. They got back within 21 points throughout in the final quarter, but then 3 goals in 4 minutes effectively put the game to bed. OM's vital 37-point win keeps them within striking distance of the top 4 at the halfway mark. Nathan Brown must have been happy with that.
He was, but he acknowledged that it was probably a tighter game than what the scoreline suggested. And as you alluded to, the game was won in the first half where they kicked straight-ish 6-goal 7 to 8 behinds. And they had to, even then, they had to stave off a late comeback in the final term. He was pleased that it was a 22-man effort that everyone contributed, and they had 4 debutants as well. Did the OM, so they were pretty happy with the output that they got from everyone.
Disappointing day for Luke Giles and Old Carey, though.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the word that he used to sum it up. Disappointed. He said that they felt completely suffocated by the way that the Melburnians defended early on. But in terms of the silver lining, he said that it was a really good lesson for the boys to learn and to understand what it looks like to be switched on defensively, which is what the OMs were. But Melburnians didn't look like a side who'd been stuck on 3 wins for the season. They looked like they played a lot better than that.
So round 10, we look ahead in Premier B. Tips to come later in the show, but a couple of top 5 clashes to look forward to. We've mentioned Willie CYMS. They could draw level with Old Trinity at 7-3. Old Carey can bounce back. They can jump up into the top 4 if they can take care of Old Geelong in another massive game. And then Caulfield Grammarians to the crunch game in their bid to climb up into the mix. They'll host the league leaders at Glen Huntly Park. Tips to come shortly. Next on For the Love of the Game, we will talk Premier C. That's next. Tickets are now on sale for the VAFA's 2025 Big V Gala Dinner presented by City Power. It's a landmark event, the largest function the VAFA has ever staged, and it's celebrating 100 years of Big V representative football. This historic evening will serve as the official opening to the Rep Football Weekend, offering a unique opportunity to honour the legacy of the Big V and its enduring significance within the VAFA community. The Big V Gala Dinner will bring together past players, coaches, club representatives and supporters to reflect on a century of tradition, achievement and pride. The evening promises to be one of the most significant in the VAFA's history. You don't want to miss it. It's at Centrepiece at Melbourne Park, Thursday the 10th of July 2025. Tickets now on sale at vafa.com.au. Welcome back to For the Love of the Game. Thanks to Mequicare, helping 16,500 Victorians each and every week. Cal Cummins, it's time to talk Prem C. You had the joy of heading down to Brindisi Street on Saturday afternoon for one of the most passionate rivalries in the VAFA between St Bede's Mentone Tigers and Bowie. Not only a passionate rivalry, but a critical game between two top four teams. What can you tell us?
Yeah, it sure was. And you talk about the crowd down there. They were right below us there in the broadcast position, and you could hear them at every opportunity. There was a little function going on to the left of us. There was about a 10-15 second delay, so you could tell when something big happened on the field. 10-15 seconds later, they were going off in the function room. It was a really awesome experience. But unfortunately for the host, it wasn't quite to be because Bowie, they were a bit too classy, and all really because of that third quarter blitz. 8-0 in that third quarter to really set up the game. But before then, it was really, really sort of back and forth. There's only really one scoring end, but when it came to that third term, Beaumaris just had all the momentum, particularly in the last 10 or so minutes of the quarter. They kicked 4 of their 8 goals in that term just in a sort of 5 or 6 minute patch, and it just really broke the game open. That we saw Beaumaris jumps and beats Mentone into the third spot on the ladder, so that really shaped their season up.
It was interesting that third quarter because watching the game, it felt like, okay, they've got the win behind them. They'll do some scoring. St Bede's will come rattling home in the last quarter. It was a question of how far in advance Beaumaris could get. But just the body language of Beaumaris and St Bede's Mentone Tigers, by halfway through the quarter when Bowie were completely on top, it just flipped the entire dynamic of the game, didn't it?
It did. And you're right, up until that point, we were sort of saying in the call, it's about a 3 or 4 goal margin would be almost bang on par for where the Tigers need to be to get into a position to win the game. And then, as I mentioned, Beaumaris just hit the accelerator in the last couple of minutes and just, it was 39 points at three-quarter time. And you go, that's a big mountain to climb. Yeah, you're right. So they obviously had a little bit too much to do there. St Bede's Mentone Tigers, they were left to rue what was too much to do in the end. They only lost by 3 goals, which I suppose sort of seemed about fair as to how the whole 4 quarters panned out. But you're right, that third quarter could really be season-defining in a sense as well.
Yeah, it's seen Bowie jump over St Bede's. They're both on 7-2 now, but Morris with a superior percentage, so they've now jumped up to 7-2. Parkdale Vultures, they got out of jail. What a game that turned out to be on the weekend against Pegs down at Windy Hill. They were down late in the game and managed to come from a goal down and might have made a couple of goals down and pinch it at the death to get up by a point and protect their perfect record and top spot.
Well, yeah, they trailed it 19 points at every single interval throughout the game, and the only time that they led was at the 32-minute mark of the final quarter. They did not lead all day until that point, so that is a genuine steal to remain undefeated.
But psychologically, Matty, really important because you're 8-0, and everyone's going to start asking, as we did with Old Brighton, hey, you're able to go through the whole season undefeated. But you look at the ladder and you go, they're now 9-0, they're cruising. But you've got to learn to win in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely, though, because there's going to be games where it's not going your way and you're going to have to find a way to come from behind. But this is a sort of result that will give a side an enormous belief that regardless of the situation, the position that they're in, the state of the game, that they can win no matter what. And going into the second half of the home and away season now, that's going to give them an enormous confidence. And there'll be a lot of lessons that they can take away from this game as well and areas that they can improve. But the beauty of how this has played out for Parkdale is they can learn those lessons and they've still got the 4 points in the bank as well.
And that's the bitter pill to swallow for Pegs, Cal, is that they played so well. They'll get lots of confidence as well. They've just taken the ladder leaders and pushed them all the way to the final siren, but not getting those 4 points. When you look at the ladder now, there's a 3-game gap between 4th and 5th. They're 5th. They've got half a season to close that gap, but 3 games is a long way back.
It's a lot to do. You've probably got to win maybe 7 of the last 9 games to even give
If they play the way they played on the weekend, they might be able to do it.
They might be able to do it because you're pushing a team like Parkdale, as we mentioned, they're unbeaten. They are flying through the season. And you get a team like Pegs, who on paper you would have said Parkdale breeze through this pretty comfortably. And you're right, Pegs will get an enormous amount of belief for the back half of the season and give themselves every opportunity if they perform like that.
It sets up the round 10 clash between St Bede's Mentone Tigers and Parkdale Vultures back at Brindisi Street, and that's going to be another VAFA.com.au live stream, which you'll be down there at as well. Makes for a fascinating game. Parkdale just got out of jail. Is that telling us that maybe they've lost a couple of players, they're not playing that well? Will that be the wake-up call they needed? St Bede's Mentone Tigers, they'll be ruining them lost opportunities, and they'll be pretty fired up as well. This one's got potential to be another cracker.
It sure does, and I'm very fortunate I'll be down there that weekend. But St Bede's Mentone Tigers, it'll be one that I feel like, you're right, after the Beaumaris defeat, it's one that they really could have got their hands on but didn't quite do so. And they will maybe know that Parkdale Vultures, they're a bit vulnerable at this point of the season. You say they're unbeaten. They're absolutely the hunted team. And every team's going to want to play them a little bit, maybe that 10% higher intensity. So, for the Tigers' sake, I'd give them every chance.
Elsewhere, Glenara, Old McKinnon racked up their third win in 4 games. And we speak about momentum, Cal. They struggled to get anything going at all in the first part of the season, didn't win a game in the early stages. And then 1 win becomes 2, and now 2's become 3 with a loss to Ajax in the middle of that. But 3 wins out of their last 4. It does just show that sometimes it takes a bit of time to click, and then once you get things up and rolling, you get a bit of belief, you can get on a roll.
Yeah, we see that across all sorts of divisions in Australian rules football, that you may be able to start the season a bit sluggishly, but sometimes it just takes a win to break the circuit, and then things click into place. And from there, the momentum could snowball right throughout the second half of the season, and the sky's the limit from there.
So Glenara, Old McKinnon with an 11-point win over Parkside. Elsewhere in the competition, Ajax, a dominant win, 53 points over Marcelin. And the final game of the round 4 Premier C was Mazenod, 15-15, 105, defeating Paran 13-4, 82 by 23 points. So when we check the ladder, it's Parkdale still undefeated at 9-0. They're 1 game clear of Ajax at 8-1. Another 1 game back to 3rd and 4th, locked together. Beaumaris and St Bede's Mentone. Then 3 games, as we mentioned, back to Pegs in 5th. Another game back to Mazenod and Glenara Old McKinnon, who sit at 3 and 6. They're a game clear of the drop zone. Marcelin and Parkside both on 8 points, and Paran yet to win a game. So at the moment, we've sort of got the top 4 have cleared out. Pegs are kind of in limbo in the middle. And then the bottom 5 are still in the relegation race.
Yeah, and the other thing that we didn't mention earlier in that gap between 4th and 5th, the percentage of 42, which is effectively another game as well.
Yeah.
So in terms of what's left between now and the end of the home and away season, certainly possible, but it's like mounting a comeback in a game of football. It's not going to take much to go wrong for that to be scupping. You're going to need a lot to go right to get it done if you're Pegs or even any side below that, but it's still certainly possible.
So looking forward to the match of the round. You'll see it live and free on VAFA.com this Saturday from 1:55. Cal Cummins and the team will be back at Brindisi Street. St Bede's Mentone Tigers taking on the top of the table, the undefeated Parkdale Vultures. One to look forward to. Speaking of something to look forward to, after the break, we'll talk divisions. BRAYDEN MAY to join us, along with a special guest, 300 gamer. This is For the Love of the Game.
Are you looking to grow your business? William Buck are more than just accountants and advisors who can develop strategic growth plans for your business. With over 125 years' experience, William Buck has expertise in navigating through challenging times and has been working closely with the VAFA community, creating positive change for individuals, businesses and community organisations. William Buck's team of specialist advisors work collaboratively, providing you with 360 support. Schedule a complimentary consultation today by visiting williambuck.com.
Hey guys, at GYG we never compromise on the quality of our food. That's why we only serve 100% free-range chicken. We're on a mission to reinvent fast food, because who said fast food had to be bad food? Love ya.
This is For the Love of the Game, thanks to Mequicare. It's time for our Divisional Wrap, and our VAFA Newshound joins us as always. BRAYDEN May. G'day, BRAYDEN.
Hello, guys. How are we?
Here with Cal Cummins and Matty Donald. We are well. How are you, mate? How's your year of footy going so far? It's been pretty relentless.
Yeah, it hasn't stopped. We're in the middle part now, the real depths of winter, so we're getting some surprise results. These games are probably 8-pointers, as I think a lot of coaches would say. If you can pick up wins now, it's crucial for what could happen in about 9 weeks' time.
Let's start with Division 1, and Q showed why it's one of the favourites. Big win.
Yeah, massive 76-point win over Old Peninsula. A bit of a shock on the scoreboard, I think you would say. Old Peninsula have been one of the premiership fancies, but Q have just been going on nicely up the top of the ladder. James Seaton-Nicol class in front of the goal with 4. Dylan Jardine, a recruit from Leitchfield Gunbower, he kicked three, just Kewer just going along nicely, not saying too much, which they're just not really flying under the radar, but they're just going about their business. I think is what good sides do. I look forward to when they play Ormond again.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They've lost their last two, right, to Brunswick and Ormond, then had the break and regroup. So this was a huge win for them.
Yeah, 100%. I think this 4-week period that we're in the midst of before we have the next bit of a general bye, it's just a really opportunity. If you can pick up some wins, especially if you do have players away, there's probably going to be some sore bodies. Grounds are getting soft. We're getting a lot of rain, so it's a lot of contested footy. So these more experienced bodies that Q do have are really going to hold them in good stead, especially if they do come up against sides that are a little bit younger.
Speaking of opportunities to try and turn things around, Elsternwick had their first win of the season and did it in emphatic fashion. Little Birdie tells me they're starting to get some players back and they are quite confident, or hopeful at least, of being able to turn their season around over the next few weeks and get out of the drop zone. At the moment, they're 2 games behind.
No, which is really exciting. I think coming into the year, they were one of the stories of the season just to see how they'd go, obviously, coming up through the grades. But a 49-point winner of Therry Penola, another side that have had their own sort of troubles this year. But hopefully it's the start of a good run of form. But one name to keep an eye on is Will Easton. He was in the best, but it was actually his debut for the club. He played at Old Scotch in the Premier grade last year in their reserve side, a part of the side that reached the final day of the season. So that sort of quality mid-season just makes a world of difference.
Brian, I want to talk about South Melbourne Districts, the informed Swans. They are firing on all cylinders at a minute. What can you say about them?
Yeah, a bit of a funny one, to be honest, mate. I think after a month we were sitting here on the podcast saying what is going wrong with the Swans, but they've now won 5 straight and they're riding this mix for the top 4, which is a remarkable effort. They got the better of Melbourne High School Old Boys on the weekend by 27 points. So they'll face West Brunswick this weekend, and if they can win that and make it 6 straight, they're probably the informed side of the competition. So it's probably not the time you want to play them, but the best thing for Nick Abbott, I think, would have been they've had the week off and then they've come back and just picked up from where they left off, because a break can obviously be an end of momentum, but the Swans are absolutely flying, and it's a bit of buyer beware if you're not buying into their stocks at the moment.
And it's interesting because we're talking about the D2 ladder at the moment, and it looked like the top teams were kind of clearing out on the field, but now with South Melbourne getting hot, Braden, all of a sudden they're only half a game behind Whitefriars in 4th.
It's one of those things, and I think we all laugh sometimes when we speak about when coaches say it is 1 week at a time, but it is well and truly 1 week at a time at the moment, because one win and the gap can just close so much. And I think importantly as well, what we're seeing with some of these results, especially the teams that might be beating those above them, they're doing it comfortably. Like 27 points might not sound much, but it's just closing that percentage gap, which could be crucial at the end of the season as well.
And then just staying with Div 2 down towards the bottom of the ladder, the Hawthorn getting a really important win in a tight tussle.
Yeah, they got the better of Aquinas, jumped out of the drop zone, so their second win of the season. I'm reading a great report on the VAFA website that went into a lot more detail than mine, but they've just got some young kids, the Hawks, and I think one of the great sayings in sport is you never win anything with kids, but I think what's really exciting from Hawthorn's point of view is if the kids can get up and running and they're winning games, they're going to find confidence. They're probably a side, if they start putting it together in the back half of the season, they will shape not just the relegation race, but the finals race as well.
You mentioned West Brunswick and a big game for them coming up, but they're in a very much a sort of a make or break part of the season, aren't they? They've got 4 different sides right in the mix for a spot in the top 4.
Yeah, which is, I think it's just the beauty that the fixtures work out for them that way. They'll know by the end of this 4-week period when we go for the VAFA bye for the centenary weekend and the 2 rep games, they'll know where they're going to probably finish, and they'll have a better idea of where they're going to play finals footy. A good win against Whitefriars on the weekend, who have obviously had their injury issues this year. Will Dillon, the co-coach, he's just been really honest. He wasn't too happy with their goal kicking. 11-27. The week earlier, before the week off, they actually kicked 25 behind, so that's an area for improvement. But what he's looking forward to, not so much the discussions you'll have to have, but that's 6 changes on the weekend, but they're starting to get guys back, which is really important. Their 2s are flying as well. They're on top of the ladder. They've only lost 1 game. So there's a lot of depth at Brunswick. Will was actually telling me they've got 130 players on their list. Yeah, wow. And they all train together. They had a couple of guys run out with the old physio tape, 122 and 130 with the numbers on the weekend. So the old sharing of jumpers is something West Brunswick might have to look into later.
Number 130. Gee, that's a big number to be carrying around on your back. That'd slow you down in the last quarter, the weight of that.
Oh, it's outstanding, and it's one of the highest numbers. I think
I was about to say, I'm not sure I've ever heard of one even ever higher than anyone running around at 130.
It's remarkable, and to have two in the hundreds, it's great. Like for the footy club to have that sort of numbers, around 130 registered across their teams, it just speaks volumes to what they're doing. And I think the great thing is they've got the depth as well. Like in previous years, Will said that it might have been a lot harder to bring guys up, but at the moment he's got some real selection headaches, which is only a good thing, especially through this tough period, because if someone's coming out of the twos, they're in form and they're going to come in and play a role at the minimum.
And this is the time of the year with the Tullamarine flu sweeps through clubs and people head over to Europe for summer holidays, and you can throw up some unusual results, and that's all the way from Premier Men's all the way down, isn't it, Brayden? And to have depth is what every team craves right now.
Yeah, you're certainly right. I think the best teams, no matter what division of footy you play in, have at least a squad of 30 that they know can go. If I pick player 30 even, and I bring him into the side, he can fill not just one role, but two roles. So if you've got 30 at least to pick from, some sides across the competition probably go as deep as 40 or 50 compared to their rivals. They're in a really good position to challenge in this second half of the season, as you can probably have the opportunity to rest guys as well. Obviously, holidays are one thing, but you want guys to be cherry ripe for that September period.
Moving on to Division 3, Albert Park certainly registered their best win of the season. Brayden, what can you tell us about that performance?
Yeah, Albert Park were too good for North Brunswick. It's a really good result. Again, this is one of the ladders where it looked like the top four were starting to break away, but again, shock results. North Brunswick were in fine form before the bye. Probably would have came into this game as favourites, but it's going to be interesting. Like Albert Park are 2 games outside the 4. If they can produce more of this consistently, there's no reason they can't jump in there within the second half of the year.
And a little bit like the other divisions, Brayden, that win for Albert Park above it against a team above them has now closed them back to within 2 games of the top 4 in a division there where we were also maybe thinking, oh, geez, the top 4 are kicked away here, but Albert Park are just keeping that door cracked open.
Yeah, well, I think we've got to stop being so preemptive and potentially suggesting the race is over. I think we're going to see a few more upsets in the next couple of weeks, and that only makes it more exciting. It would be really hard motivationally, like if you were that far back already and you considered yourself a finals chance and you thought you were out of the race, because it can create issues for footy clubs. But yeah, 2 games out is nothing at the grand scheme of things. But again, Wattle Park currently in 4th, obviously had their own big win. Percentage is the big thing. Like 4th and 5th, it's 2 games and about 70% looking at that, which is probably worth 2 games in itself.
Yeah, exactly right. Brayden, thanks so much for your time. Hey, what are you looking forward to this week? Our KTV game is a Premier Women's clash between Beaumaris and West Brunswick. That's coming up, the doubleheader on Saturday. What else have you sniffing around this week?
Well, I'm hoping to get Q on the phone just to see how things are going down there. They're going really well. They play a UHSVU side that have been ravaged by injuries, but that's one of those games that can be a real danger game. But I'm looking forward to Premier Men's. That competition is just really shaping up to potentially someone come from outside the 4 late in the year, sneak in and potentially sneak across the line on grand final day. But I think the game of the weekend in the top tier is Old Xavs and St Kevin's. That is a huge clash.
Yeah, that'll be a fantastic game. One of our VAFA Media broadcast games. Looking forward to that one. Brayden, thanks for your time as always. Chat to you next week.
Beautiful. Speak then. Thanks, guys.
Remaining in Division 3, and well, what a special day it was for the Wattle Park Animals. Lawrence Virgo celebrating his 300th game, just the 7th Wattle Park player to achieve that feat. And he did it in style against Ely Park. Joining us now on the line, a very special guest, Lawrence Virgo. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
So you had the game against Ely Park, who have been struggling this year. We noticed, we had a look at your stat line, 25 possessions, 12 marks, 10 tackles, 8 taps and 6 goals, 3. Is that right?
It seems a bit inflated, but, I'll go with it.
So 6 goals for you. We noticed when we were looking at Play HQ, and incidentally, you predate Play HQ. That's how long and illustrious your career's been. But they've got you down for 272 odd games. So there's another 30 beyond that. But you'd only kicked 88 goals to this point. 6 goals, is that a PB?
Yeah, it is personal best. So I think 4 was my highest before then. But most of my footy career has been down in the back line, stopping goals. So a few injuries, and the coach decided to put me forward for the day, which was great.
Oh, magnificent. Tell us a little bit about your footy career. How'd you end up at the Wattle Park Animals in the first place, and what year did you start?
Yeah, sure. So headed down there in 4 was my first year. So that was, I think, the club was in C grade at that time. So yeah, I'm from the country. A few mates I went to high school with, I moved in with them, and they were playing down there. So they convinced me to come on down. So I went down, training, and I've never looked back since. So I've been there, since 2004 up until now, surviving. So it's good.
Lawrence, over those years, is there one moment in particular, I suppose this 306 goals is probably at the top of the moment, is there one that stands out outside of that?
I don't know, it's quite hard. A lot of people ask me that question. I can't remember back that far, to be honest. But I think, there was a few years there, I think back in 2014-15, where we had a really, really good team, which is a highlight. We played really well. We dominated those years, but we didn't win the grand finals. We lost, I think, one of those grand finals by a point, then missed out on making the grand final by a point. So, but I think the group of guys we had then and the fun and the way we were playing was a great time to be at that club and part of that team.
Lawrence, congratulations on the achievement. 300 games is a huge effort. What is it about the game that keeps bringing you back? Because you've been obviously playing for a very long time. What is it about the game that you love so much?
I suppose, obviously, I've been there for quite a while now, so the game's changed quite a bit over those years. But I think the one main thing that's kept me coming back is my love for it. Like, I love playing games. I love playing at that club. And I love playing with those group of people. And it has changed over the years. Different people come through, but I don't think it's ever changed. The culture of that club hasn't changed since I've got there. And I felt like, I don't know, just having the love and the passion to improve each year. And I always have this thing in me that I've had it since I was juniors, that we're going to win the grand final every single year. And I've had that ever since I played, and I still have it to this day. And that just drives me to play each year.
Well, you're always a chance. That's the thing. You're always a chance.
Right,
and again, you guys are going great again this year, sitting there in the top 4, so you're right in the mix. You speak about the culture of the club. What is the essence of the Wattle Park Animals, and what does the club mean to you?
Yeah, so the club means a lot. Like, you probably hear it a lot where it's like a second home or a second family to me, and they definitely are. So coming from the country, so obviously coming on my own to the big city.
Where'd you come down from, Lawrence? Where are you from originally?
So from Bensdale in East Gippsland.
Yep.
So down that way. Came down and they just...
Was that for uni? Did you come for uni in the first place?
I originally moved to Ballarat for 2 years, and then I moved back to Melbourne to do just some work.
Yeah, right.
And then just happened to move in for guys who were my friends I moved in with were doing uni.
Yeah, right. So that's how they were at Wattle Park. Yeah, great. Gotcha.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Back to the question about the culture of the club.
Yeah.
Sorry, we took a detour via Bairnsdale and Ballarat.
That's all right. So as I mentioned, it's a very open and inviting club. It doesn't matter whether you're the worst or the best player. Everyone just talks to each other. They really embrace a family environment at that club. And it's just a fun place to be around. Everyone can talk to each other. If you're struggling with anything, whether it's football or personal stuff, there's always people there to talk to. They just, as I said, like, you could have been having issues at home or feel down about something, you go to the club and your whole day just lifts up. So that's why I've stayed there the whole time and not even considered about drifting elsewhere.
Lawrence, you mentioned earlier in the pre-game that there was a plan to move you forward for this match in your 300th game. I'm curious, who approached who? Was it, did you go up to the coach and say, Coach, can I have a go forward this week, or did the coach come to you?
No, he came to me. I never, you always hope you get to, because, and all respect to Ely Park, but they are struggling this year. So it was a good opportunity to move forward and hopefully kick a goal. But yeah, he approached me. We had a few out, as I mentioned. And he wanted me to play high forward anyway. So, and what I wanted me to do there. So
high forward at 43 years of age. You're like,
yeah.
Did you take your passport or your license in and go, listen, mate, I reckon I probably should be coming out of the square?
Listen, I found myself down near that square more often than not. So it worked out.
Fair enough.
Could it be a permanent move that we see going forward?
You never know.
6 goals is a pretty good showing.
Good audition.
There are other forwards there who've been there all year and they didn't get 6. So
yeah.
You never know.
so now when you talk to the forward group and they're moaning and complaining about how difficult it is down forward, you've got to just look at them and laugh and go, you're kidding, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what you're complaining about. It's quite easy. Not easy.
What does running around and playing footy mean to you, Lawrence? Obviously, you've been doing it for such a long time. It's just part of the rhythm of your life to have a couple of trainings and a game on a Saturday. What does it mean to you?
Playing footy, it means a lot to me because I don't do too much outside of that. It's just, as I mentioned before, a great outlet for me to go down with a group of guys, girls, have a run around, have some banter, laughs, and just it's just a really, I don't know, it's a love of mine I've always had, and that's why I'm 42 now, so it's quite a hard thing to give up because once it's gone up, it's gone. But just the love of the game. It's just the love of the game, and the VAFA do a great job of making it a game to be loved and to enjoy. So hence why I keep coming back every year, even though I keep saying this is my last. I think I've been saying it the last 10 years. But
when you're kicking 6, mate, you're tearing it apart. Keep going. How is the body?
Oh, the body's great. Like obviously a bit sorer than usual, but the body's great. I keep fit generally, so if my body was falling apart, there'll be no way I'd be sitting here talking to you guys today about 300 games. I'd be done and dusted, but I've been lucky enough to get through those years unscathed. A few broken bones here and there, but apart from that, I've got through pretty well, which has been great.
What does playing 300 mean to you? Obviously, it speaks to longevity for one thing.
Yeah, it's just I was thinking about during the week, like the further the week the game got closer, I just started reflecting and saying 300 games is quite a feat. Not too many people these days you see playing 300 games at the one club. So I felt quite special, and to do it at Wattle Park was maybe even more special because they've helped me through a lot of things through the years and just being part and making me feel welcome. It means a lot. Family coming down from the country who probably haven't seen me play for quite a long time made it even better. So the day in itself, the club, family, and that made a great day. It was really, really good.
Yeah, you guys probably saw me out there. I kick 6. I do that most weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
As the kicking bit required extra ice to cool down this week, Lawrence, it's on fire after a 6-goal haul. Not too often. Well, I mean, we said it's a PB.
Yeah, it is. Usually don't put ice on, but I did put ice on that game, actually. It's just like I think most players, you don't get to play for that often, then you get that opportunity. It's like you get rejuvenated for that game, and then I was just all over the place. And they did help me out. They were looking for me quite a lot when they probably shouldn't have. So the guys really helped me out.
When did you kick your first one? What stage of the game? How early was it?
I think it was in the first 10 minutes.
Beautiful. So you're like, I'm on here.
Yeah, and I missed a few that I should have kicked. So I always think about, God, I could have nearly kicked 10 if I really... it was really on, but 6 is great. It's just great, especially in a milestone game. It was fantastic.
You mentioned you started back in 04, so what's that, 21 season of footy. What sort of advice would you give to the people playing their 19s right now who aspire to play maybe 300 games for their club?
It's pretty. It's a hard one. I think my biggest advice is just enjoy your football. Like, don't get too down on games or if you're not performing or what have you. Just really get down there, enjoy it, and look at, like, my biggest thing was just look after your body. So if you feel sore, do something, even if it's like a bit of a walk or what have you. Just really look after your body, and then I think I just think enjoyment is the number one key. Because if I wasn't enjoying it and I got down, I don't think I could manage this far. So I think having enjoyment at a club and with a group of people is probably the number one thing I'd give advice for.
No one gets to 300 by themselves, Lawrence. Who would you like to thank?
Mostly, obviously, the Wattle Park Football Club is probably the biggest thank you. They've helped me through, as I said, since 2004 to now. I've just been supported through the trainers, coaches, through the years, players. Some of my long-term friends at the moment are from this football club. Obviously, family, supported me through those when I was younger, moving to Melbourne, being that they're there for when I need them. And now my wife and young son letting me continue to play is a big help.
How old's your boy?
He's nearly 3, so I'm getting the nudge to, this is it. You've done 300 now. Let's wrap it up.
I'm within sight of 400, darling. It's just around the corner.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Someone told me the other day, 370 is the record at the club. What do you reckon?
Yeah, you've got that in you.
Another 5 years.
You've got that in you, no problem. Does your little fella get along and watch Dad play?
Yeah, he does now, and he absolutely loves it. Absolutely loves it. So I can play, and he just runs around. All the guys get around him. Yeah, he loves it. It's good. It's good. And that's what I wanted. It's good to have my own son see me play before I head off. So no, it's good.
Can we rule out or rule in a father-son combination for Wattle Park one day? Father-son playing together, or is that a bit beyond reach?
Another 13, 14 years. I reckon you've got it in you, Lawrence.
If they're ever short, I'm more than happy to do the father-son.
That is the spirit. As we always say in the VAFA, there is no such thing as retirement. I'm not playing right now.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
Mate, congratulations on an incredible achievement. We're so thrilled for you and so thankful and grateful for everything that you've contributed to the competition over such a long period of time. It's a remarkable effort. And the heart and soul people of the competition, such as yourself, really are the lifeblood of the VAFA, as you mentioned, for the love of the game's what it's all about. And you epitomise that. So congratulations, Lawrence. Thanks for your time. Best of luck for the road ahead.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Tickets are now on sale for the VAFA's 2025 Big V Gala Dinner presented by City Power. It's a landmark event, the largest function the VAFA has ever staged, and it's celebrating 100 years of Big V representative football. This historic evening will serve as the official opening to the Rep Football Weekend, offering a unique opportunity to honour the legacy of the Big V and its enduring significance within the VAFA community. The Big V Gala Dinner will bring together past players, coaches, club representatives and supporters to reflect on a century of tradition, achievement and pride. The evening promises to be one of the most significant in the VAFA's history. You don't want to miss it. It's at Centrepiece at Melbourne Park, Thursday the 10th of July 2025. Tickets now on sale at vafa.com.au. Time to talk VAFA women's competition. We're going to start with our William Buck Premier Women's from round 9 as Caulfield Grammarians still out in front.
They're just coasting at the minute, Caulfield Grammarians. A 41-point win over Williamstown CYMS. They remain 3 games clear on top of the table. They have played the extra game because the buys are still rolling through, but they're 9 from 9. Absolutely no problems at the moment for Caulfield Grammarians.
And that's a great win, given that you look at Williamstown CYMS, who beat St Kevin's by 8 goals prior to the bye, and then they come out and have that sort of form. Just shows how Caulfield Grammarians, they are switched on this year.
They sure are. Elsewhere at Camberwell Sports Ground, it was Old Scotch who got the job done, one they needed to get, and did so over Bow Morris, who still find themselves at the bottom of the table. Unfortunately for them, they won by about 8 goals over the Sharks. As for Old Geelong, they had a very, very narrow win, 3-7 to 3-1 over Fitzroy, an important win in the context of their season. Both of those sides now find themselves on 16 points on 6th and 7th on the table, respectively. And rounding out the round, a very, very tight game between West Brunswick and Kew. It was a 3-point win for West Brunswick, 5-6 to 5-3. That moves them into the top 4. Very important for them.
Speaking of West Brunswick, they will be our KTV doubleheader this week on Community TV. It'll be Bow Morris versus West Brunswick, a Premier Women's, William Buck Premier Women's doubleheader from 11:55 on Saturday. The Rezzies into the seniors will see that live on Community TV. Bow Morris and West Brunswick. Let's turn our attention to Premier B Women's. Matty?
Well, 48 was the magic number this week, Jace, because of the 4 games, 3 were won with a final score of 7-6-48. So Old Melburnians with a 7-6-48 win over Old Yarra Cobras, 4-4-28, so a 20-point win there to the Old Melburnians. Old Xavs, a 28-point win over Marceline, so 7-6-48 to 2-8-20. Westbourne got a big win over Melbourne University, 7-6-48 again to 1-1-7.
That is remarkable.
Doesn't happen often. And the outlier here was a Port Melbourne Chargers.
Didn't get the memo.
No, they didn't. They got it the wrong way round. It was 12-12-84, so the numbers are the wrong way round. St Bede's Mentone 4-3-27. Old Brighton with the bye this week, or week just gone. And as we turn to the ladder, it's Old Brighton who was still on top. 1 game clear with 1 game in hand on Port Melbourne Chargers, who are on 7 wins, and then 1 win back Old Melburnians, who are on a record of 6-3, and then Westbourne round out the top 4, record of 4-4.
Time now to talk our VAFA Anytime Fitness Rising Stars. Congratulations to our round 9 nominees in the women's competition. It is Charlotte Coleman from Old Yarra Cobras. She's 19 years of age, came up through the Warrandyte Junior program, played Coates League for Northern Knights last year. This is her first season in the VAFA. She's polled in the best players in 5 of her 6 games this season, including all 3 of the Premier Women's games earlier in the year, and then 2 out of 3 in Premier B. She was second best on the ground on the weekend. So well done to Charlotte Coleman. And in the men's competition, well, this young man has been turning heads. Cal, I know you keep a close eye on the under-19s competition. Lucas May from St Kevin's, 19 years of age, came through Kew Rovers and the Burundara Hawks junior program. Second season playing St Kevin's under-19s. Last year he kicked 27 goals in 14 games. Last year he started in the D4 team, then elevated to the D2 team, and then played the last 9 games in their Premier under-19 team. And then this year he's been in that Premier team all year. He's kicked 37 goals in his 9 games to lead the competition. The next best, in fact, is 24 goals. So he's 13 clear of anyone else in the comp. Kicked 9 goals 3 on the weekend against St Bede's Mentone Tigers, Lucas May. And it just speaks to the volume and of depth and quality that St Kevin's have, that a player can be rolling along, kicking that many goals in that many games and still be able to be sat in the 19s to continue his development.
Well, it's the 6th time this year that he's kicked 4 or more in a game, and 9 is no slouch. Like, that is absolutely going to turn the heads of selection table in the seniors. 9 goals surely gets you a game close. You've got to be on the
you look at what they're doing at senior level, and they've just got guys who are kicking goals every week. I mean, it's going to be pretty hard to get a game ahead of the likes of Paddy Kerr and Sam Barnett and those guys. They're killing it.
Yeah, no, it's but he's knocking on the door, and I think that's the important thing, and that will please everyone, because competition for spots and that pressure from the levels below is exactly what you want to be a successful team. You want people keeping you honest in the seniors, and 9 goals will do that.
And we think about last year, Joey Campilli played the first half of the year in the under-19s, kicked lots of goals. The Tullamarine flu hit, injuries hit. He got an opportunity in the ones. He ended up staying there and leading them all the way into the grand final.
You're right. It's going to be hard to fit him into the ones, but you're right. Joey Campilli last year was the prime example of, if a kid's ready or not, you give him a go at least. And he could kick 2 or 3 on debut and go, bang, we've got one again. So Lucas May is absolutely one to watch for coming years.
Well, speaking of goals, it's time for Ton Watch. Thanks to Sharon. Let's have a look at, firstly, round 9. There were 3 in double figures on the weekend. Now, you're sitting in the seat of Joey Pignataro, so therefore, from a theatrical perspective, you have to be all grumpy and say, no one's ever going to kick 100 goals, it's never going to happen, etc., etc. Matty, you can be more optimistic and say, yeah, that it'll definitely happen. But Cal, I know you're an optimist by nature. You're on board with me. I'm sure we're all on board here about Ton Watch. It's possible. Well, this week, 11 goals to Michael Timmins from Powerhouse Seniors and a wonderful performance from him. 10 goals to Aaron Shipley from MHSOB thirds. 10 goals also to Rory Calvert in the Old Xavs thirds. And then Lucas May, as we just mentioned, 9 goals to him in the St Kevin's under-19s. 8 each to Jake Dillon and Jack Colgrave. Jake Dillon just continuing to kick goals for Richmond Central. Jack Colgrave in the Old Geelong reserves. 8 goals also to Tim Houston from the Mazenod thirds. 7 each to Aidan Bartel from Parkdale Vultures thirds. Will Taylor from Old Scotch thirds. And Daniel Hill from Wattle Park Rezzies. The leading women in round 9. 5 goals apiece. Diana Cornish from Parkside Seniors and Claudia Hetherington from the Fitzroy Rezzies. That takes us to our season leaderboard. And we are at the halfway mark. So we get a very good guide on who is in the mix. And I reckon Ton Watch is still on, because leading the charge at the moment on 46 goals
close
in the mix is Rory Calvert from Old Xavs thirds, who kicked 10 on the weekend. And again, we talk about, well, if he's kicking so many goals, how come he's still playing in the thirds? Well, Rory's stuck in the thirds because you've got guys like Charlie McIsaac who are doing great things in the ones for Old Xavs. They've got such depth up there already. It's hard for Rory to break into the team, which means he can stay in the thirds and keep kicking goals.
For our sake, let's hope he stays in the thirds, because Ton Watch is absolutely on. You're right. Simple maths tells you that 50 is where you should be at the moment, but he's right there. He's a couple goals here and there, that little cheap ones over the top. Maybe try and feed him the extra 1 or 2
Especially if we get close towards the back end of the year.
It is on.
And then Jake Dillon's on 45. He's playing in the Richmond Central Rezzies. And every week we say, how can Jake Dillon be kicking 9, 10, 11 goals in a week? But again, then you look up to their ones, and they've got guys who are also kicking 10 and 11 in the seniors, so he can't get into the team.
Yeah, this is it. And that's sort of what we talk about. I mean, each performance will put pressure on the other player to perform. So they're trying to outdo each other at all levels, but it's a good thing for the club.
So Rory's on 46. Jake Dillon's on 45. Luke Ashen, who's playing in the ones at Oakley, he's on 41. He kicked another 3 on the weekend. Blake Williams on 39. Lucas May now from St Kevin's is up to 37. Hugh Beasley, who booted 6 for Old Trinity on the weekend, he's on 36. Bailey Pays held goalless on the weekend for Old Peninsula. He remains on 34. 34 also to Aidan Bartel from Parkdale Vultures. 32 Michael Timmins. 32 to Bill Irving. And 31 to Jack Hall. Our leading women's goal kickers this season so far. 26 to Hannah Smith in St Kevin's senior team. And Georgia Harris from Port Melbourne Chargers seniors. They both sit on 26. Indiana Harris sits on 25, the Ormond seniors player. So that brings us to tips time, gentlemen. You've got a very, very important job to do here for Paddy and for Joey. Who did we allocate to who here in the scheme
I'm
of things?
Joey.
You're Joey. Okay.
I'm Joey.
Well, leading into this weekend, we've got Joey sitting on 53. We've got Paddy sitting on 61. So you've got some work to do here. So we're going to start with Premier B, our round 10 games. We're going to kick it off with the blockbuster between Old Trinity and Willie CYMS. Cal, who do you like?
Oh, it's a tough one. Blockbuster is the best way to put it, but I'm going to go the CYs. I'm going to go the CYs. I like what they've been doing the past couple of weeks. I like what Trinity's doing as well. But, I mean, being one of my 8 points down if I'm Joey.
Yeah, it's time to go. Got to pick a few
Got to go
upsets.
the other outside at CYs for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Old Trinity at home. It's going to be close, but I just think the home ground advantage for me there.
Old Geelong and Old Carey, two teams that have sort of been in the middle of the ladder, up and down week to week. But gee, this is such an important game in the race for the 4.
It sure is. But Geelong for me, I just think on paper they're a little bit of a classier outfit. And you're right, it's only one game splitting them on the ladder and 0.6%.
Yeah.
So it's absolute blockbuster again. Geelong.
Can Old Carey bounce back, or do you like the Ogs at home?
No, I'm still going to go Old Geelong at home, I think. Just he'll have a bit too much for them.
Well, Caulfield Grammarians, we're talking about how they're climbing their way back into their season. They now take on Old Ivanhoe, who will be on the rebound.
And I think they will rebound. Old Ivanhoe, for me, they will remain on top.
Can Caulfield pull off the upset at home?
They could, but no, I think it's hard to go past Old Ivanhoe with that one.
Old Melburnians versus Fitzroy, the two teams who came down from Premier Men's this season.
Yeah, Fitzroy, they have been struggling so far in Premier B this season, so Old Melburnians for me.
Old Melburnians as well.
The final game of the weekend in Premier Men's round 10 is Old Camberwell versus Hampton Rovers.
Yeah, a similar sort of story, but I'm going to go Old Camberwell.
Yeah, Old Camberwell too. It kind of feels like I'm just copying you, Cal.
Well, the first game we went different. The CYs and Trinity.
True, yeah.
Well, you're sitting on the lead, so you can afford to. I probably should be asking. I'll ask you first, and then Cal can decide whether he wants to go something different for Joey to try and make up the gap. Let's talk Premier Men's now. We're going to kick it off with our SEN match of the day. Maddie will be out at the Snake Pit, 1:45 on vafa.com.au and the SEN app. St Bernard's coming off the draw. Uni Blacks on a tear. Can St Bernard's finally get 4 points at home, Maddie?
Well, I think they'll be within a shout. I mean, they played very well last week, and they could have easily won it. Well, both teams could have. But I think that and the form that Uni Blacks are in, I'm just going to go Uni Blacks. I think they'll just their form is just going to see them through. I think.
Well, I couldn't sit in Joey's seat and not tip possibly. Bernards. St Bernard's for me.
In fact, I texted Joey last night and said, "Hey, do you want Cal to do your tips?" He goes, "Sure, as long as he picks Bernard's."
Joey,
well
you're
done.
fine. You're fine.
Well done. Now, how about this game? One of the games of the season so far. Last year's minor premiers in Premier B versus last year's minor premiers in Premier A. It's Old Haileybury versus Old Brighton at Princes Park.
What a game. What a game this is going to be. I mean, this is going to be on for young and old, this one. Can't wait to... I won't be there, unfortunately, but I can't wait to get the updates for it. I'm going to go Old Haileybury with this one. I'm going to back Old Haileybury to get the job done at home. It's going to be a great game, and it's probably going to take all 4 quarters to get it done, but I'm going to go with Old Haileybury here.
We're going split here. I'm going to go Brighton for me. I think they are just the classier fit. And you're right, the Tullamarine flu has hit down at Brighton Beach Oval, but I just think they're just a bit classy. But 6 in a row, I think it is for
6 in a row for Old Haileybury.
So that is good form as well, but Brighton for me.
Old Scotch versus De La Salle, vafa.com.au live stream from 1:55 on Saturday. Old Scotch and De La at Camberwell.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Old Scotch with this one. No, they're down in 7th, but they're a good 7th side, Old Scotch. And it's hard to tip against them.
Yes, no, I do agree. Scotch for me as well.
Uni Blues versus Collegians, two teams that can deliver anything or nothing on any given day. Uni Blues, you saw them live on the weekend. They came away with the draw. Can they get the job done at Melbourne Uni?
This is a really difficult game to pick, actually.
And what a massive game in the relegation race this has suddenly become.
8th versus 9th, there's only 2 points splitting them. It's,
I'm going to go Collegians, I think.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Collegians on this one. It's going to be close. It's going to be a lot of really entertaining games and a lot of close ones, but I'm just going to go Collegians here, I think.
Well, this margin in the tipping is going to either go very far out or come out because I've gone the Blues. I've gone Uni Blues. I've really liked them in the matchup directly against Collegians.
The final game of the weekend, we talked about how great Old Haileybury versus Old Brighton is. Well, this is another one of the games of the season. This will be a VAFA live stream from 2:25 on Saturday. It's Old Xavs versus St Kevin's at Toorak Park.
I tell you what, this is a rivalry all the time itself. Old Xavs and St Kevin's. This is going to be one that you've got to be all chips in. I think if you're heading on field with this one, really tough game to pick. I'm going to go the Xavs. I think St Kevin's are certainly going to be more than up for the fight with this one. They're not going to give them anything easily. I think the class of Xavs should just see them home.
I do agree with this one. I think the Old Xavs as well will very much put the foot to the sword when they need to and really solidify a top 2 spot.
So much to look forward to. You'll catch so much of the action this weekend on VAFA Media, our SEN Match of the Day. St Bernard's and Uni Blacks from 1:45. Our KTV doubleheader, a couple of Premier Women's games. It's Bowie versus West Brunswick from 11:55 on Community TV, and then a couple of live streams to enjoy. Old Scotch de La Salle from 1:55 on VAFA TV, and then at 2:25 on VAFA TV, it's Old Xavs versus St Kevin's. That is it for us, gentlemen. Congratulations on an incredible debut.
No, thank you, Jace. It's been an absolute pleasure, and Matty, it's been a lot of fun alongside you.
No, thank you, Cal. Always great to be working with you again, and Jace, thank you for the opportunity. It's been a blast.
We will talk to you again next week. Enjoy an incredible round 10 of footy coming up, and we will speak to you next week for the love of the game.